Hello and welcome to ET Studios HR Tech Connect in association with ETHR World. I'm your host Himanshi Tiwari. Now we at ET are thrilled to bring you the HR Tech Connect series where we will dive deep into the world of HR automation and technological advancements streamlining the HR functions. Over the course of this series, we'll highlight the use of technology in improving employee experience throughout the employee life cycle, starting from onboarding to offboarding. So without any further ado and with great pleasure, I would like to invite our guests, Mr. Gaurav Saini, CHRO HMD Global, and Mr. Rajiv Naithani, CHRO Infogain. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Same here.
So to kickstart this conversation, could you please set the stage on how HR tech has actually changed the landscape of employee development and engagement, especially post-pandemic?
See, I would say HR, especially post-pandemic, if you are talking about, HR has, I would say, technology plays an important role because post-pandemic we are finding a very big shift, which is basically in hybrid work culture, which was not present earlier.
Yeah.
And we used to only maybe use it occasionally, that work from home kind of concept. Now the work from home concept has become a necessity or a mandate from the employee side rather than the employer side. So I think technology plays an important role in that by maybe keeping people engaged. That's one part. And because without engagement, there's a lot of things which are involved, which productivity is one of the important aspects, retention is one of the important aspects, and also the morale of the people. So when you connect all these things, then engagement is a package there. So in my opinion, I think it plays a very important role. Technology is becoming a very good facilitator for the HR people as well as the function, if you say. And in the longer run, it will always be kind of a front runner when we are talking about artificial intelligence or any other things or robotics in this technology. Then it will always maybe a front runner in that as well. So this is maybe the opening remarks. I can say that this is going to be very big.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Rajiv, let's get you in this as well. So, a lot has been changed post-pandemic, right? So, what do you think? How it has actually evolved the employee engagement and development models in the organizations?
So what we were selling to our customers was very different before pandemic versus now. The entire, you actually today every other company across the industries is a tech company. You go to manufacturing, you go to healthcare, they're using technology to drive their business. Now, what has that done to the overall context with increased adoption of technology post-pandemic is the complexity of products, technology products, the complexity of skills, the complexity of technology has actually gone multifold. So what really that caused in the overall landscape from a talent point of view is that earlier if I was needing a tech guy with Java or any specific technology, I was good enough to drive this engineering development or software application work. But today, it's actually platform engineering with AI, ML. The generative AI is still evolving, and I'll come to there in a while from now. Now, because of that context, the complexity of skills have gone up. Now, the second important point which changed, which Gaurav talked about, this entire working model. First remote, now hybrid, right? That's how it is evolving. Now, which means the needs of people are also changing. The good thing in Indian technology industry specific is, or in particular about Indian technology industry, is that people are becoming much more aware and receptive to change their skills, which was not the case earlier. So that mindset has also changed. Now, when we look at this entire context together, from an organization standpoint, how the development journey has to be linked is, what are you selling? So what is your SFDC funnel looking like? So what are you selling to your customers? What product solutions are you offering to them from a services industry standpoint? Now, what is your capability inside the organization from that standpoint? What is the gap? So one is, which is a, pull based, which means there's an organization need and hence you need to drive that so that you have a capabilities in-house. Otherwise, it's too difficult to build that and buy that capabilities. You need to build that within the organization. Now, when you're doing that, you're actually also in a way helping people to develop their skills because they're getting into the newer skills, they're getting trained, And it's actually a mutual interest from organization as well as employee perspective. Now, what it actually has done from a development perspective is now people are actually gradually reskilling themselves on regular basis because technology has made it convenient based learning. Gone are those days when it used to be classroom based, right? It is actually now technology driven. So bite sized learning is there, adaptive learning context is there where I can actually choose with my own speed, etc. And I can have simulation based learning, which is much more experiential, and I'm really applying my learning into the real world. From an engagement perspective, I think technology goes hand in hand with engagement as well. You can't take away the employee touch point experience. So what you can do is that from a scalability perspective of the experience, especially in a hybrid working environment, you need to actually leverage technology and ensure that you have empathetic human element combined with it as a blended and provide that engagement solution to your people.
Of course, human is the foundational element of human resource, so we cannot totally do away with it. Very interesting point, Rajiv. But moving on to the hybrid setup that you are talking about. So how, organizations should look into engaging employees during a hybrid setup when two teams, one is working from the office setup and one is working from home, how to kind of have that collaboration and streamline the communication?
So, actually, when you talk about engagement, engagement has always been a very challenging task for anyone, whether it is manager in any organization or the HR folks. Obviously, HR folks, they basically facilitate this kind of engagement platforms or engagement activities, or they give some kind of direction to the managers to engage their teams. But now, when we move to this remote or the hybrid work culture, obviously, because engagement requires sometimes physical presence as well. But technology has eliminated that physical presence, I would say. So there are platforms today where you can utilize those platforms where you can engage your people on regular basis. But now, first, before we maybe talk about engagement, we need to talk how we engage people in the organization. So let's maybe look at from the back end thing, because engagement is not only about fun. It's not about you do some kind of activities when the people are together and they collaborate or they have some fun, but it is much more than that. So a lot of organizations are giving importance to their performance management system now. Their feedback system has been more very comprehensive. So they want to engage people while they're working remotely or they're working from home or discreetly from office and home. So that is very important, that how am I doing as an individual. I want to know that what is my perception, am I able to maybe drive my KPIs which has been driven or given to me as from the management or my manager. That's very important. So feedback and the performance management system plays a critical role, which technology is obviously aiding it from a long time, but now it has become more just-in-time approach. It has become more predictive. Okay, and the second part is engaging people maybe while they are away, in order to have more of speak-up culture. So that is one thing which has come up recently and very strongly. Actually, it was there. A lot of organizations were utilizing this. But now I think a lot of organizations have started acknowledging this fact that if we give this psychological safety to the people, they will be more engaged. They will give more inputs to our business. They will give more inputs to the things we do at our office. They will be more open to the feedback to their managers. What kind of culture? So and then it evolves to the culture building. Then I'll pause here and then move to Rajiv if he wants to add something.
Yeah, if you have any thoughts.
Sure. When we talk about engagement in this reality, which is hybrid/remote working environment, the first engagement is the cultural engagement, because that has got changed significantly over a period of time. If you look at the facts in technology industry in particular, I think every company will have 60 to 70% people who would have joined post-pandemic and may not necessarily have seen the office, right? Now, when you have such a population, how are you connecting them with your culture? How are you letting them assimilate and appreciate and understand what is your employee value proposition, what is the feel part of this organization, right? And that is the first engagement in my view. During pandemic we saw, even during complete remote environment, we saw the job change was as easy as changing the laptop, and your job was changed. Sitting at the same place, changing the laptop, job is changed. From that perspective, the stickiness with the organization and culture context becomes very important. And I think the bridging point there is the managers. The line manager has very important role. So as an organization, as enabling functions, as HR functions or people function, how are we ensuring that our line managers are supported enough to play that role of bridge, to ensure that cultural alignment is there with these people, because they are talking to them day to day. Every interaction is virtual interaction today, right? So that's first, which is cultural. The second aspect of engagement with the organization is about cognitive engagement, which is how do I think about my work? How do I think about my career in this organization? Where you can actually measure, quantify, which comes from brain, right? The experience of the organization. Do I see that I'll grow in this organization or not? Do I see that this organization has ability to scale? All that aspect is very important. So your ability to create communication, doing right communication every time, ensuring people are connected with you in the organization is very important. That's your second cognitive. The third is emotional engagement, which is all about how do I feel about this place. It's not about only Rangoli competition, right? It's about how do I feel, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my psychological safety, my relationship with my manager, my relationship with other colleagues. Can I speak my voice? That's emotional engagement with the organization. So I see that these three have in particular evolved differently in this work environment. And I think as an organization, we need to really cater to these. And at the end, if we do it well, we will have people who are more engaged, they talk positive about the organization, they will generate referral for the organization, they would like to stay with the organization, will not switch the job with changing the laptop, and they would like to go extra mile to support the business outcomes of the organization. That's how I see it, in addition to what Gaurav has already
Yeah,
said.
of course, and engagement starts just after the employee has been onboarded actually, because everything from the company culture that you were talking about, from the learning resources available to them, to how the teams actually collaborate in this hybrid setup, every thing is new information for the employee. So yeah, the engagement becomes necessary right from the employee has been onboarded, and even during the acquisition process as well.
It's big, So I would say that because basically there's a difference of opinion here that the engagement starts much before the onboarding process actually.
Yeah.
Starts
Candidate engagement.
pre-onboarding, and maybe your experience as a candidate, how you were onboarded, and maybe how you were evaluated. So it starts from there as well, and then obviously because the main your it's like this that you land in your home somewhere, and then how do you feel? As Rajiv was mentioning that there's a emotional aspect to it, and more or less obviously engagement is being today connected on the emotional aspects, because hard skills and the other things people they carry it themselves when they leave the organization, or they come in the organization, it goes away and come in with them. So if I have a technical skill, it'll go away with me, but the experience which I have, maybe it will be a part of that organization. So I want to be a part of that organization. So engagement is a wider thing where you are becoming a part of that organization. You are getting in there, right? So we have some kind of activities and all. So there are a group of people, 10 people doing something or 20 people doing that thing. I become a part of that. So how am I being welcome in that group? As you say, onboarding post. So that is very important. And how do I sync in that group with my whatever expectation I had? It is very important. The harder skills, I would still say, I have seen in the past as well, is something like people accommodate, but they won't not like to accommodate with the softer or the experience part of it, because that's also very important, and very important aspect comes as the employer branding as well. So employer branding is also been associated with this concept of engagement, because that's all software part. Obviously, I'm talking about software part is not only about your growth is very important, your development is very important in the organization when you grow, your compensation. So When I was working with one of my last to last company was there, we have developed 8 wellness themes for the engagement of the people. And someone was asking me that we, I think, developed that in 2014-13. And today is 10 years down the line, we're still relevant. So, and Rajiv has mentioned 3 of it, and that reminded me that there were 8 actually, or 7. So it was professional, so it was psychological and social. So all that engagement model was kind of maybe designed around these 7 wellness themes, and each and every has a technological maybe I would say intervention there, and through technology you can drive it much better. What we used to do that 10 years back.
Of course. Imagine an employee has just been onboarded and the experience has not been very well. Now that sets the tone for his entire journey in the
Absolutely.
organization, right? Of course, I agree with you, gentlemen. But my question is that even learning in development plays a very important role when it comes to engagement, because it's the key driver towards the engagement, right? So how can we actually, set development plans that are tailored to the needs of employees, and the personalization angle is there in that.
So learning has been obviously since beginning has been a great engagement tool, because as an employee, how do I see my growth in the organization? Because my personal concept is either you grow or degrow. You cannot be constant. So whatever you're doing today, and I'm assuming that the person is doing the same thing, the same role for next 2 years. So there are so many changes happening externally, as Rajiv was also mentioning. Maybe those changes are in product, or what we offer as a product, as an organization, or else there are changes happening internally as well. So as an individual, I am going through a lot of change every day, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. So I need to keep up on those changes, and also need to learn. So if organization is aiding that to me and helping me out to learn that, obviously it is a great tool to be engaged. Then how do you do that? Obviously, so now we have obviously e-learnings and the small bites of learning. Everything is there. And I always say that we are in the golden era of HR actually, because we never had so much of technology aided or enabled tools available before this. And I don't see that there will be a much of change after this as well, because the kind of tools we have, a lot of them are very predictive. So learning plays a very role, that how can I predict what kind of competencies I require for the future, and how do I build up my people for that. And that's how I'm going to achieve the motivation aspect for my people as well. So take an example, I'm doing a role today, and my organization can change and transform to a different maybe organization, or different level of complexity can be there. So there are tools which can predict while sitting today that your people will require maybe next 2 years, these are the skills to keep up themselves and relevant in the market and relevant to your organization. So this is the beauty of the technology when you're talking about in terms of learning and development. So predictive, and then obviously reactive. So what do you need today, and this is a feedback. This is a performance thing also. What is the need, whether it's a will issue or a skill issue. So then skill-based platforms are there. Then skill-based learning can happen. Or the will issue is there. Then the will-based things are there. That motivational aspects or the softer aspect of this is there.
But when it comes to learning in development, how do we choose what kind of L&D program fits a particular employee? How do we bring in that personalization or tailored program aspect?
So we have to divide this in certain parts. One is obviously the compulsory learning, which any organization wants their employees to do that. So just to give very basic examples here, there are post trainings maybe there, or maybe some kind of onboarding trainings which we have about the policy and the procedures and other things. This next level of training is, what do I need my people to do or get this work better as an organization again from these people, which my people are there. So I would maybe arrange those programs based on that. So this is a second level of program. The third level of program is that what do I want to do? Now it's employee side for my self development, and what are the options available. So obviously a lot of organizations are putting money and the budgets behind the level 1 and the level 2, which is like compulsory programs or a mandatory programs, what we call it. And the second level is my competency based program or the role based programs, which are required to do a certain amount of productivity, and the expectations are there, and I as an organization need to deliver on this. So these two programs been, I think, fairly been covered by a lot of organization, and they have plenty of tools. And then the first level and second level, you can divide it amongst between technology based or technical programs, which are hard skills, I would say, and the softer skills then. So obviously softer skills are still adoption rate for the maybe technology side is still slow. We can just debate that, but harder skills, I think, taking a front seat, and I don't see any challenge in that driving it. The third level is obviously a lot of tools being used, and when we, as an organization, when we choose, we we have to choose, or we normally a organization choose that way that okay, it can cover maybe a broader aspect of the employee base, where it can be like okay, fine, my self learning is important, and I want to kind of adopt that. Is this a platform going to give it to my people that kind of freedom to choose that thing, or else there can be some AI based interventions or interactive interventions that yes, based on my habits, based on my interest. So I always tell my people that you have to identify that what kind of learner you are. Are you a kind of a learner who maybe learn from the text based thing or book based thing? Are you a learner which is audio visual learner? Or you are kind of just want to listen things like audio only? So a lot of things. So you have to pick and choose a program which is like based on the profiling of your learners, which is in this case employees. And then the kind of maximum you require is harder skill or the softer part of it. So harder can be done and delivered through a lot of technology platforms, but the softer skills you need a lot of intervention in terms of coachings and mentoring and other stuff. So this is how you have to divide an organization. So there is no one answer to it, but yes, it depends on a lot of permutation combinations. But the good part is, as I was talking about, we are in a golden era, so everything is available in the market, and a lot of work. And I see really amazed to see the kind of innovation and the creativity happening in HR world or maybe L&D world in terms of technological interventions. So plenty of things are available. So you have to just maybe assess that what do I need, which fits into my budget as well as fits into my requirement.
Yeah, and talking about L&D, I think it doesn't end, by how we implement L&D programs. Of course, a lot happens post the implementation of such development programs, like measuring leaderboards or keeping the enthusiasm of all your employees up. A lot of things happen. So, Rajiv, maybe we can get you in on this, on how you engage employees during that learning and development process, and how you keep the engagement high, and how technology actually helps the HR department in doing this.
See, honestly, we have not matured that, so we don't have that magic wand that we have fixed it, especially in a remote working environment, because we are still working remotely. 90% of our population is working remotely still. Now, in this context, what we have ensured instead is they have the self-paced learning opportunity made available, so that whatever mechanism through which the learning they want to achieve, they have that ease and flexibility available, whether it's going for certification. So once on we call our platform as Infogain Excellence Platform, where people enroll for programs, certifications, and then the associated learning path follows. So they have their own self journey, and they actually cover, some people do it faster, others take time because of priorities and other things that comes to play. Now during that process, the only thing which we do to ensure that there's a bit of engagement is actually we bring in the element of quizzes, we'll bring in the element of some activities or simulations, and even POC creation, etc. Because that's where there's a collaboration which also happens. In addition to that, one of the thinking we have is that can we actually take it to gamification route, so that every milestone. Even when you're enrolling for program, there's something which is clocking at the background, which is more of point system, for example. And how do you actually then leverage them? Can you redeem them over a period of time? You're seeing that leaderboard as you're talking about, how many points I've earned because of different milestones I've achieved, and what does it mean from a merchandise or any other perspectives point of view. And also the other thing is we are also linking some of these aspects of learning with the career progression as well. While we don't want to mandate it, because then it becomes very push based, the learning culture cannot be push based. It has to be pull based, where I as an employer or learner, I need to have that motivation to go for it. The organization needs to provide me the ecosystem and the path to navigate through the learning channels available. That's where the organization role is, but it should be myself driven, right? That's where I need to take charge of my learning. So these are the thinking, and these are some of the things which we have been doing. But largely he covered, in this previous response in terms of what are the ways, channels, how do you customize the learning for the learner needs perspective. I think that's where we stand today.
One important thing here is this, that the world is moving from experience-based skills to the skill-based skills, I would say, or maybe skill-based approach. Just to clarify this, what I meant is that I need a guy who is a content creator. It doesn't matter to me that how much experience or how many years of experience he has in that content creating field. I just need a person who is proficient in that. So now the proficiency levels matters a lot, that how much proficient you are on the particular skill. Experience is getting away from there. So even your hiring will also be in the future based on the skill, not your experience. And there are a lot of job descriptions you will find in future which will be like, I need a proficient guy, proficiency level of in this skill at a 5, or 1 to 5, when I just say that highest skill. I need a proficiency, or maybe I need a working skill on this. So we will move away from the experience-based hiring process to a skill-based hiring process. In that, there will be an internal competition as well, which will be created. So when you're talking about engagement in learning, it is always very important that unless and until you have some kind of fear in mind that I will be outdated, and especially in technology companies, and that's how the developers or the software people, they have been doing this in the past as well, that am I going to become redundant or outdated after some time? What are my future skills which are required? And do I need a kind of a proficiency level increment in that? So today I stand at a 3, and then if I want to go to a 5, obviously I need to increase that same skill or a learning to do that. So the engagement will come in that way, will be very, very, I would say, strong engagement. Obviously gamification, other things, we are all human beings. We like to be rewarded. We like to be awarded, rewarded, or competition, internal, everything we like it, So, but ultimately what matters is that how deeply I think about it as an individual, that okay, I really need this, and then organization have to play an important role there, that these are the proficiency we are looking at for your growth. So for the next level of maybe a promotion, it is not mandated now that this is 4-year plus or a 2-year plus. It will be required that how proficient you are. A guy who has just come in 6 months time, he can become your boss. Maybe in 5 years time, that can be a reality. I'm not sure.
It's happening actually.
It's happening, yeah. So
Yeah, no, very interesting point on how the hiring now will be done based on skills rather than experiences. I think this should have been done
and
a
you
long
might have
back.
seen this also in the resumes. Now we don't say anymore like I need a minimum 15 years experience in industry. So it is normally now that how many years of experience in that skill, whether it's a selling skill or maybe a development skill or a technological skill or HR skill. So today I talk about how many years of experience you have as a HR business partner, what you have done in that. So I would be keen to hire a person who has about a particular skill sets and gone depth in that. and the proficiency level is very high, rather than the experience that, oh, the person is a full stack thing. Maybe he has done or she has done 5 years in this, 5 years in this, or it's a very experienced person. I don't think that is relevant for me. My much more relevant thing is that, oh, is this person is aware about that skill and the proficiency is on the highest level. That is what my
So that to me in technology industry is always happening, because we are
Yes,
always
yes,
changing in
yes.
technology. If suppose I have a person who was Java expert for 15 years, but now here is a requirement of front end skill for which the person has evolved and become Java with Angular or Java with React, for example. The relevance is only for that skill proportion, right? It's not the entire 15 years. So this experience thing is not working out in any case in technology industry. Secondly, this experience thing is more Indian culture driven. If I have a software developer sitting in US, 30 years experience could still be doing a coding and could be called as software developer. In India, you can't imagine 30 years experience saying, oh, I'm just the software engineer. The society will not accept that, right, in general, right? So there are those cultural nuances also
Of
which
course,
get
we are
involved.
seeing this with generative AI as well, how the demand for prompt engineers has actually increased. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has just been like 1 or 2 years since generative AI has come
It
into.
is still evolving.
And it's still evolving, right? And we
Everybody's
already
trying.
have a demand for prompt engineers now.
Yes.
Right? But where do we draw a line between technology and the human angle? Because, of course, human, when we talk about HR, human is the foundational essence of HR. So, where do we draw the line? When do we decide what aspects should be dealt with technology and what aspects should, the human should be focused? It should be human focused angle.
So this is an unsolved mystery in HR. But yeah, there are few experiences which can maybe guide us. So I would not say there is no fixed answer to it, because some people think that, and then there are extremes here also. And there are few senior leaders, they predicted that by 2020 the HR will die as a function, right? So, but we are still there, right? And I think we are more stronger today, right? Because the reason for that is HR has played. So when you see the evolution of HR, so we used to call this function as maybe what a
Personnel.
labor function,
Yeah.
personal department. Then it went into an HRD, and then it came HR, and then we were talking about HR business partner. Now we are talking about today it's a transformation business. So we partner a lot with the business in transforming the business. We talk about from hiring till obviously the exit of the person, and then obviously in between the engagement. And this is totally dependent on the business, kind of business we are doing, and because changing very fast, everything is changing very fast. So this is very important, the transformation aspect. So technology can play a big role in your harder skills or harder part of it, where your brain is working, and you need some feeding for your brain for your people. So very honestly talking about it, that if I need some feeding for the brain of my people, I will definitely go for a technology part. If I need a feeding for people for their heart and emotions, I will go with the human touch. Right. So if we talk about if today my employee needs a leave, obviously they have a system that there is a sick leave, somebody or medical leave, there's somebody ill in this family or somebody is going through it. Obviously you apply on the tool and it goes through and approved and all. I can go on leave. So this is technology. This is hard part of it. Softer part is somebody going to call that person as a manager that, yes, boss, I saw that you have 5 days of leave or 10 days of leave being marked as medical. Is everything okay?
Yeah, of course.
Right? So that is something which is related to the heart and the soul of the people and emotion of the people. Somebody is asking me that thing. So definitely technology cannot play any role in that. So emotions, so when I need to address the emotions and touch the emotion in the heart of the people, I definitely need the human approach. When I need to address the feed for the mind of the people, where there's a knowledge, hardcore skills, I think then I will rely on the technology. So that is my answer to it.
Of course, of course. So technology in human aspect is definitely a tough balancing act for organizations now. But do you feel that with changing employee demography, now more Gen Zs or Gen Ys are coming into organizations as employees who are actually really more adaptive of the new technologies coming in than old employees. So do you find any challenges when you kind of implement any technology with the old employees than with the new employee demography that is coming in?
Demographics is not about this mix. Yes, this is one of the prominent ones which you mentioned. This is about, see, obviously the attitude, and post pandemic I'm finding it is less challenging. Pre pandemic times it was very challenging because there was a mindset which was fixed mindset, which pandemic has changed. So this so adoption rate has gone up. So, and very typical example is UPI payments. And since I come from a phone industry, devices, so the thing is, uh, if I talk about my father, my age, and and talk about my son, so they are more prone to have UPI payments and they don't want to carry cash. But my father will be kind of, he'll prefer to carry cash. But still, it's open to make a payment through a UPI today. So it's a very good transformation. You can see that my son is a teen and he still wants to prefer to pay through an UPI. So the adoption rate obviously in the Gen Zs and Ys are very fast because they need the things faster, cleaner, no hassles of carrying a wallet or something like that. And I would say that there was a say that they don't know how to write a check. They don't know. They don't understand the what do you call cursive writing and all the stuff. But they definitely understand the other aspects, which much better than us. What we have been doing.
Yeah, probably how to use AI to do all those stuff.
So,
to write a check in
exactly.
cursive
So,
writing.
If at all there's a need.
So any adoption which you say is a challenge with the demographics or anything will be the mindset. It is changing definitely very faster. I would say that, but obviously because there's a generation gap of 15-20 years in both these generations, there will be some kind of differences, and adoption rate will be slower and faster that side. But I think it's quite satisfactory now.
If I would ask you to sum up this, the change in engagement models and how personalization is an important factor when it comes to L&D and increasing the engagement rate. So how will you kind of summarize this in one line for our viewers to understand?
I'll actually, if it is one line, I always look at it from the fact that as a human being, as an employee, it is about, do I feel cognitively satisfied with the company, and do I also feel emotionally satisfied with the company? Because everything from experience perspective is driving my two satisfaction levels, cognitive and emotional. So if organization is taking care of my all the logical things, which are whether the learning path, the career, the growth, the title, etc., the compensation, the total rewards, benefits, those give me cognitive satisfaction. When the company is actually creating a culture of inclusivity, the culture of belongingness, where I'm being heard, I'm being recognized, I'm being valued, I have my own identity, I'm not being judged, I have a psychological safety, that gives me emotional satisfaction. So these two really at the essence of engagement lies within these two.
Yeah, and you, Gaurav?
So I think all the activities which we do, starting from engagement, and engagement when after the onboarding actually started with that, till the exit of the individual in the organization, there are plenty of things, and this can be years long association, and it can be very complex now in the current scenario because post pandemic a lot of variables been there now, as we discussed with the working models and other things. So technology has definitely made it very easy. Of course. That's the one statement I would say, that your life has become easier, not complex.
It has become an enabler.
Enabler, and it is basically sometimes we look up to it as a threat. Why? Because our adaptability to that or adoption rate is slow. So there's a lot to be done on the learning and the mindset change of the people who are going to bring this technology alive to the organization, which is obviously basically the managerial team here in any organization and the HR. This is a combination of that team has to work together on this, and adoption rate has to increase because we don't have to get scared with this. It's not going to take away our jobs. No, no, not at all. And I've been looking at it and hearing at it over the social media and everywhere. It's flooded by that, and a lot of discussions been happening. Like, it's not. It is going to make our life easier. We need to understand. We have more analysis now. The analytics have become very easy. We can predict a lot of things. We can offer a lot of things. So if it's a beauty of it that if, let's suppose, I'm at home, somebody can predict what is my eating habits, what I would prefer today at dinner. So my life will become easier. My wife will not ask me that what should I cook for the dinner, right? So her life will become easier, right? If she can get my AI driven aspect that, oh, Gaurav is thinking to eat today this XYZ thing, life becomes easier. But is he going to kind of eliminate my wife? No. So the thing is, same thing like in companies as well, it's not going to eliminate us.
Yeah.
It is going to enable us. And this is going to give you so much of insights today. The technology can give you so much of insights, so much of data, so much of visibility and openness that you can drive a lot of good engagements, which we were not able to do earlier. Now we can definitely think of a far higher level of intense engagement with the people to any extent which we want possible.
Hence, technology, summing up to it, that technology kind of empowers people, which hence will, increase the engagement rates of any organization. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time. It has been a wonderful and very insightful session, I must say. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you.